Welcome back to our VFL sessions. Today we look at our third directional concept, which is a minimal design concept. We've already looked at our hacker design concept, our all-stars, our more sporty design concept, and here we're going to take a completely different approach and look at a minimal design concept. Okay, so the first thing you'll really notice is that we aren't super visual on this concept. We've gotten rid of the team logos, of the player cards, of the player photos, and we're really just focused on the information. This is consistent with more traditional fantasy league apps, which are really just, essentially really nice looking spreadsheets where you have a lot of player information. It's just text on a white screen essentially. So we're really taking that more just simplified approach. And I think that what's really great about doing this exercise is that we start to work out how we can just show a little bit more detail on the card and do it in a simpler way. So we have our player cards here. The blue indicates which player in the role got more points that week. And so they're whichever score you count. So we have the player name, the points they earned that week. We have the cost, so how much this player cost. We have who they played this week and if they won or lost. We have their role. So, just because so there's wild cards, you could have a wild card as a duelist, but this person is a natural duelist and they play for G2 in the North America region. This technically should be AMER for Americas, but, I just didn't think about that when I was doing this design. So overall, just a more simplified view of the player cards. And I think, it teaches us a few things getting to do this. We also have our bench players on the right. In an ideal world, these are drag and drop. So just really intuitive experience there. Some new things to talk about are, well, first of all, we have this, this rounded square, which kind of reminds me of a clipboard. So you could argue that it's kind of immersive that, hey, I'm setting my lineup on a clipboard, like a real coach might, even though I really just have these player stats, I'm doing something, it kind of puts me a little bit more in that immersive coach's seat. We have a new section here called stats. And the thought here is that it's just great to see what influence your score for the week. What are some important things to call out that maybe you're doing better or doing worse at and that you should look at in the coming weeks? Specific thing I'd like to call out here is this idea of remaining budget. So in the current app, I think they call them Valorant points, I think is what they're called. And basically there's the points that you earn for the week. So this is your score, but then there's the points that you use to buy players. And I've been trying to get away from that. I think in the past designs, we just call them credits or something like that. Here I'm turning it into a currency. So we could use euros if you're in Europe and dollars if you're in the US. I think those are probably the two primary user bases we have for this app. But the idea is that we just fake salaries for each of these players. So if you are a 7.5 now in the VFL, then it would say that you're making $75,000 a year. If you are if you are 13 right now, it would change it to $130,000 or euros per year. And I don't know the exact salaries players make. I'm guessing. I think it would be consistent with other, other data I've seen in the past that I think it's reasonable to expect them to make anywhere between 50K or 75K and 200K, which I think is the range of points we tend to get. I think the lowest one is about 5 or 6 and the highest one is about 18. So that's probably not what the players really make. They could probably potentially make more than that. But I think it's a really, just for the sake of the VFL, I think it's a pretty reasonable way to go about things. We've also changed our IGL role to MVP. So we tried top frag in the past concepts. I'm a bit ambiguous over whether I like top frag or MVP more. I think top frag sounds cooler. I think MVP is pretty, realistic as well to basically say, this is my most valuable player for the week, or I think it will be double the points that they get so that I get extra points from them because I think they're going to score really well and I want those extra points from them. If you want to dig into that a bit more, look at, I think probably that first video that we did where we document the existing experience, or go check out ValorantFantasyLeague.net and look at their rules page and you can see how that works. Speaking of The top navigation is another area that we did some innovation on. I want to call out this logo. This is the current VFL logo. And, I've done a tiny bit, like 30 minutes of exploration on a new logo, but um, I don't really want to change that if I don't have to. I think it's great to stick with what the team has put together. And this logo is, of course, intentionally really rough and scuffed. You have the Valorant logo with, this MS Paint drawing of FL. I think that this logo comes extra alive when we're looking at such a clean, structured concept like this. To see something scuffed in the top left, it looks a lot more intentional. And I think scuffed things really come across better when they're in a context of really intentional other things. So I really like the way that this works out. We've also simplified the navigation to be these 5 items. The leaderboard would come up when you click on this element. So on the left side, you have your total points that you've earned for the whole season and your current placement. So 69th in this case, which would be pretty good. I don't know that there's anything else really specifically I want to cover here. I think that overall we start to solve some different problems here, and I'll be back soon with a video where I look at the 3 concepts we've done so far, the 3 directional concepts, and I take the best from each and create a unified concept, or what we might call, for the sake of this project, a super concept, where we combine the best elements of each. And I think that's the thing that I really want to expose to the community and do a little bit more promotion around. So I'm excited for this next video. Stay tuned, and I will see you in the next one, but that's it for this one.